Hello, and welcome to the very first Coatings Talk from Coatings Coffee Shop, brought to you by APOC. My name is Heidi Ellsworth, and we are here today to talk about everything coatings. And of course, where do you start? You start with training. So we are very excited to have Johnny Walker with APOC, the National Technical Manager of Roofing and Waterproofing, with us today. Hello, Johnny.
Hello, Heidi. Thank you for having me.
We are so excited. So before we start off, let's go through a little bit of housekeeping. First of all, this is being recorded and will be available within 24 hours for you to share out to the industry, to within your friends, your family, your other roofing professionals, so they can learn more about the coatings industry and specifically about training. We also have the chat open. So please tell us where you're from, what you do, what kind of company you have. We'd love to have the chat, and feel free to make comments throughout the entire or ask questions throughout the entire presentation. We'll be sure to involve you in this great discussion. So let's get started. First, as I've already said, welcome to Johnny Walker. But Johnny, can you introduce yourself and tell everybody a little bit about you and APOC?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm the National Technical Manager for APOC Roofing and Waterproofing. I've been with APOC about 14 years now. I started as Southeast District Sales Manager, and I've kind of, mixed around in my roofing career and my professional career in general. I've always been in management and always in a technical role. I worked for a casino as a facilities manager there. And in that, we did roofing and siding and waterproofing. You name it, we did it in the maintenance department. So, I've been in roofing in one form or another. I know I'm giving away my age a little bit, but, pushing 40 years. Started out, picking up shingles off the ground, and I did some tear off of shingles, and then went into distribution, ran coatings jobs, was an independent rep, a manufacturer's rep, a sales director, and now national technical manager. So long history with all different types of roofing, from repair to restoration to full new tear-offs.
I'm telling you, your experience, Johnny, I've been able to spend time with you on several different videos, webinars, podcasts. I just love it. So thank you so much for being here today, and for APOC being such an amazing sponsor. I love it. And we're seeing all kinds of people coming in through the chat. So thank you, everybody, for sharing who you are, where you're from. We're excited. The chat is open. We did have one question that I just want to make sure that we let everybody know. We asked, can you find this? So you can find all the future Coatings Talks on Coatings Coffee Shop underneath the RLW, Read, Listen, Watch segment of navigation, and you'll see Coatings Talk there. This is our first. So we are very excited about it, and we are launching it off, and with a lot of people in here visiting, and I'm seeing a lot of names that I know. Hello, everybody. This is great. So let's get started.
No pressure on the first one.
No pressure. There's a lot of people on here, Johnny. Okay. So I'd like to start out with is really the state of training in the industry. So what are you seeing? In fact, Johnny, you and I were just on a call earlier this morning, and one of the first things that came up was the importance of training and quality. What are you seeing in the industry?
So obviously training is key. And it's so many factors to it, whether it's safety, proper application. We see that, in our industry, that improper training leads to so much liability and so much bad feelings about restorations, in general, coatings. It's like they're really good systems, but they are truly systems. You can't just paint the roof. And that all starts with training. I mean, it is in high demand. And also, to talk about labor shortage, I see the bullet point here, but right now the roofing industry in general is really hurting. I mean, all of industry, commercial industry, construction industry, they're hurting so bad for good, qualified, trained people. And having the ability to train and get out there and not just the guy on the field, but the people who are selling it as well. We don't want them to misrepresent, make sure that they understand what a system is versus just, painting a reflective coating on a roof. So getting that, and of course, using technology. We're seeing, what did we do during COVID?
Yeah.
You know, we all ended up to be experts at Teams and Zoom and all of the other platforms. And that was a technology thing. And it was new to a lot of people then. And we're still using it today, you know. So using technology like this, different sales tools, different technology tools to get out there. We're starting to see a lot of drone usage in the industry, and you know that has its own training, rules. There's a lot of liability related with drones,
Yeah.
drone inspections, and making sure that training also covers your liability aspect of it. Can we do this? Should we do this? What's the liability involved? So.
Well, and it seems like I mean, I know some people would say liquid applied systems, coatings, they're all the same, but we know that's not true. And
Yeah.
there's just a lot of training that also I think I'm seeing out there industry wide on the different types of systems and really building up that roof restoration or that full system, liquid applied
Mhm.
system. That I hear a lot about that, Johnny, that's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. When we talk about a system, what is a system? A system is, properly prepped, properly primed, properly patched, made watertight, and then properly protected, right? So
Yeah.
it's a lot of P's there, but it's to get to that true waterproof. I ask people all the time, what is your roof? What's the main function of your roof? To keep the elements out.
Right.
And if you're just painting the roof, and unfortunately, there's a lot of people out there. I use the analogy of chucking a truck. That they're just going out there selling, a bucket of coating on a roof as, hey, I'm going to waterproof your roof, and that gives the industry a bad name because the roof still leaks. And of course, they think it's a product failure, and it's not. It's a maybe Chuck wasn't properly trained. He didn't understand the steps that he had to go through. I didn't know I needed to do these. I didn't know I needed to reinforce around pipes or penetrations, or that maybe these seams need to be stripped in, and all those types of things, and really understanding that. And then also with the technology side of that, understanding, is the roof restorable?
Yeah. Yeah.
Training on how do we determine that? Is your roof even a candidate for restoration?
Right.
There's some roofs that just need to be torn off. They just need to be replaced. So.
Well, training is not what it used to be. When you just say, okay, we're going to just sit down, but there's training. And I love what you just said. When you really look at the state of the industry, it's all across the board. It starts at the ownership level through sales, production, service departments, the whole 9 yards. And so that training has really taken on, as with everything in this day and age, a whole new level.
Yeah, 100%. I
And
fully agree. Yeah.
yeah, and so I think one of the things to really what does training look like today? So that I was kind of leading you there, but
Yeah.
what does training look like today? So yeah, what does it look like for you, Johnny? Because you do this every day.
Yeah. So we do. We for us, we do virtual training. Like we're doing now. We do a lot of hands-on. We have classrooms, several different locations in the country. And to really get to who are we training?
Yeah.
And what are we training? Because what I train a counter salesman might be different than how I train the contractor applying it, and how I train the building owner on diversifying his business with fluid applied restorations is going to be different than how I train the installer actually applying it. So we have multiple different classes that we do depending on what that person needs to learn, what part they're taking in it. Our industry is a multi-part, right? So whether we sell through distribution, whether the contractor, you have a contractor buying through distribution, he's dealing with that salesperson, maybe the inside and outside. They all need to be trained and understand, because we don't want them to, overpromise and underspecify, right? We want to make sure that they understand what a system is and how it goes right, and then ensuring that the guys actually applying it are getting trained, and certifying those applicators, that they've been through our training course, and they've done the hands-on, and they've done all the pipe penetrations and field seams and scuppers and drains and curbs and base flashings, and they understand how that all works and how that gets repaired. So we do a lot. I mean, a lot of in person. We schedule all the time. We've got training classes pretty much every month that we list on our website. It's a simple registration, and you attend. virtual. I do multiple webinars or Teams calls every week
Yeah.
throughout the country, right? It's just the easiest way to get to somebody quickly. And of course, utilizing all the technology out there, but it's a matter of understanding everything is, different products that you have. You have acrylics, you have silicones, you have asphaltics, you have urethanes, you have PMMA, you have all these different types of systems out there, and each one of them has its own unique application situations, right? Things that are specific to it. And to really get our industry on track and doing good quality work, we've got to make sure that everybody gets fully trained.
Yeah. I think that's the key. And I hear it over and over and over again. And I think it is really interesting. I like what you're saying about, who we are training and why. And I think that why really leads us to it's a risk for roofing contractors and roofing companies out there when they don't have, I loved how you said earlier, the certification, are you certified? Have you really gone through the process? Do you really understand it? So talk a little bit about some of the problems you're seeing out there when there's a lack of training.
Yeah, so I think the biggest problem we see is that, whether they're, doesn't matter what product they're buying or where they're buying it from. It could be a maintenance person, it could be a contractor, as I say, Chuck in the truck. And I apologize if Chuck's on here.
Yeah.
I'm not calling you out.
No, he's here to find out more so that they can get the training.
But, they're going out there and they're purchasing product and they read a label. They do minimal research. They go out, they apply it to a roof, and then almost immediately the building owner is not satisfied. And that's the customer satisfaction part, right? The goal is to make sure that you meet his needs. And contractors have to understand what are his wants and needs, but also what are the needs of the roof that you're working on? What does it really need? Just because the building owner wants to, buy a Yugo, but he wants you to warrant the Cadillac,
Right.
You have to meet that in the middle, right? You want to meet his expectations, his wants and needs, but you have to really look at the roof. It's more important about the roof needs, and try to meet in the middle with that building owner and make sure they fully understand, because we get calls all the time where it's just they went out and they coated the roof, or as I say, they painted the roof, right? They put down one coat, maybe two coats, and they called it a waterproof system. Now, there are definitely some waterproofing characteristics in the coating itself, but if you've got bad seams, bad scuppers and drains, and all these types of things that were your problem to start with, just putting a fluid applied system over the top, or a fluid applied coating, isn't going to melt watertight that for very long. With expansion and contraction, it's going to fail. So we get those calls all the time. Hey, my maintenance guy put this on. Hey, my roofer put this on, and I still have leaks. Or it's peeling up, and it's the wrong product in a ponding water area. So educating everybody so they understand that limits that risk, and getting that training. You want everybody to have confidence in it. You want the building owner to have confidence. The applicators have to have confidence, and the contractor, the owner, has to have confidence in the system. And it only takes a couple of failures for all of that confidence to go away.
Yeah.
And then the industry is damaged by it, right? So, when I'm talking to this, I'm not just talking about, my company, but in general, I want everybody to be successful, everybody to do proper restorations, because it helps the overall industry. And that means that there's going to be more of that happening. And restorations are great. They can be extremely successful, profitable for the contractor, and extremely durable for the building owner when done appropriately. But it has to be done right. And that all starts with the training.
Yeah, I just think, as we talk about the risk to the roofing company, that is key, because without the right training of employees and on the right products, it's not just training, it's trainings on the right products, and and the sales team to be able to, now you have, if that roof doesn't perform, your reputation's at risk, you're obviously risk for financial issues, and it lowers the confidence of your employees in the overall culture.
Well, and we find that we've got a lot of companies that try to diversify, right? Diversify their business, which is smart. But they go in it with minimal knowledge. They think, oh, this is easy. It's just painting the roof.
Yeah.
And they go out there and we've had it where they put it on, and they had blisters and all these types of things. And we asked, because we weren't involved. Did you do a moisture survey? Did you do an infrared? Any type of, no, we didn't do any of that. Come to find out that the system's wet. Now, that liability falls directly back on the contractor, because as a roofing contractor, it's his job to understand what the national codes require and expect. No more than 5% in the membrane layer and no more than 8% in the insulation layer of moisture. If they're not verifying that and they're doing the work, they're going to be liable when the failure comes.
Yeah.
And proper education, because when we train on it, we're not just training them on, hey, this is how you put our product down. We're training them on how you get to a successful system and limit that liability. I talk about the 4P process, right? Prep, prime, patch, and protect. Well, the 5th P is the most important. That's profit. So when we educate, that's why we're all in business, right?
Right.
When we educate, we try to educate so they get to keep their profit.
Yeah.
Right? They don't have to worry about the liabilities, the callbacks, and the failures, and all those types of things.
Everything. It is so true. And like we said, it just really goes into that what it does for your company. And so I've heard you say this many times, and I can see there are many contractors on here who I know have this culture. They are amazing, but it's really that culture of training in your company, the making it right there with safety. I mean, obviously safety, training, it all goes together. So talk a little bit about how really investing into training, and the last time it's just getting in touch with your great manufacturers to get the right training. What does that do for your company culture?
Yeah. So, I think all of us out there at some time in our career have worked for that company, right? They cared about their employee, they cared about the quality of work. And there's so much that goes into that. We think about safety, we think about training on the product that everybody truly understands. And those companies are excellent to work for. When you have a company that cares, and they want to do jobs right, and they're properly training their employees, because the last thing you want to have happen is that it's the employee, the guy who put it on, that's getting yelled at. Well, you must have done something wrong. You didn't clean it. You didn't this, you didn't that. Well, if he's never trained, how is he supposed to know? And as they say, things roll downhill, right? So the guy at the bottom, ends up getting yelled at, right? And he's just doing maybe what he thought was right. But if a company's not providing proper training, they're not going to have the full buy-in from the employees, right? If they're just winging it, not fly by night, they're not going to have that full buy-in from the employees. And you want them to I want the guys on the roof, I want them to take ownership in their work.
Yeah. And pride.
I want every guy up there to be doing the best job possible, right?
Right.
That gives them pride, but it also helps the company, just a massive amount of pride there. And it's like I say, I mean, that's why we're here. It all starts with proper training. When you talk about, brand reputation and those things that I have the bullet points here, but, it's so important, for like us, for example. And that's what I've said already. It's not just me. It's not just my company. I want everybody to do it right. I want all the systems to be successful, because that helps the industry in general, right? And if the industry is doing well, so are we. Right. But if poor workmanship, poor quality, poor installations continue to happen, it just hurts the industry, and people get a bad taste in their mouth. And that company out there that's not investing in training and ensuring that they're getting that quality training is going to have a hard time growing their business. And truly diversify, in this economy, especially, we're not going to get into politics, but we're going into a tumultuous election year. And we've got a lot of things going on internationally. And we know that all affects business. That affects the stock market and larger companies. It affects them on how much they want to spend on those roofs, right? So restorations are a way to get there, doing it proper. And these companies that want to diversify in this time and look at repair and restoration, maybe they were a shingle company, maybe they've never done it before. Get the proper training and really understand and be successful out the gate. don't have to go through all those struggles and failures and issues before you figure it out.
Right.
You didn't get proper training, then you can grow your business and mitigate overall risk for your companies.
And I really, I love is exactly what I'm thinking too, because, and maybe you can, I mean, you work with roofing companies all over the country. So I'm sure you have seen roofing companies who've invested in training, and that then correlates into their business growing and growth, getting more jobs, having a higher brand
Yeah.
reputation. What do you see of the companies out there who do that?
Yeah, so I mean, I've got several companies, especially up north. There's a couple that I'm thinking of. I'm not going to call them out here, but we're in the wintertime. They invest heavily. They don't lay their people off.
No.
They're all working, and you know what they're doing? They're training. They have mock roof set up. They have safety classes all the time, tie off classes. Understanding roof access and how to tie off properly. And they run classes where they, actually educate non-roofers, people that want to come into the industry. These companies just have such a spectacular reputation in their market.
Yes.
Right. They're just so well invested in it. They don't have the issues, right? Everybody feels good about them. And that's the goal, right? We want new business. We want, we want those referrals. And
Exactly.
having those people that have invested in proper training, these companies are just incredible. And here in Florida, there's one company, they're constantly doing trainings, and we've been invited in, and they bring in the entire team, and everybody gets paid for the day, and they've invested in that, and it takes an investment. But the reputation of these companies is just phenomenal.
Which then turns into growth and profit. Yeah.
Right.
Which is exactly what you want.
Exactly.
I know. So, as you get these roofing companies get their teams trained, I think there's a great thing. I'm always thinking sales and marketing, Johnny. So I'm always kind of like, yeah, you're doing this training. You should talk about it. Talk about it to your customers. Talk about your commitment to training, that culture of training. So through the training, when you have this quality workmanship, what are some of the benefits you see, not only with customers, but maybe even suppliers and distributors?
Sure. Those who invest in the training, I mean, obviously we're seeing, just far better results with the systems, right? Easier to land more jobs, callbacks are eliminated, that's the 4P process. That's the point of that, is if you do it right the first time, you eliminate those callbacks and you get to keep your profit. The different levels of training, you have beginner, you have beginner and intermediate, and we call it the black and gold, level.
Yeah.
And that lets you get the different warranties. So initially you're in a material warranty, then you get a labor and material, then a labor and material non-prorated, and then into an NDL level, right? So as you continue to have those successful products, more warranties become available to you. And of course, those are sales tools, right? And, material warranties are easy to get, right? But, because we're not really covering the workmanship. But once you get up to that next level, they've got to do it right, because it ultimately comes back to the contractor on whether they've done it. But, having that quality workmanship is just overall, I mean, and I can see it when I go and do roof inspections, we do our final inspection, and you get that contractor who's heavily invested, and on his punch list is 3 or 4 items, and then you get the contractor who's not heavily invested, and you have 2 pages of punch list items, right? And I mean, that's just a huge difference. So now that's more work they have to go fix. That's more labor dollars out of the company coffers, and it's night and day.
Right.
And it's just a simple investment. It's just a simple, hey, we're gonna do this. If you want to be in this industry, invest in that and get the training.
Well, and you said something right there that is just so important when you think about ROI, because obviously that 5th P, I love profit. But when you think about ROI, if you only have 2 or 3 things on your punch list on every job, you're making more profit. You're getting a return on investment for every dollar you put into training
Yeah.
because of that, compared to how much more money does this person have to spend who has 2 pages. And so now all of a sudden you're offsetting that cost of training, time, paying your employees to be trained. And it becomes very obvious. It's something for anyone who's sitting on here who's like trying to make this point in their company of saying, we've got to do this. There's some black and white numbers right there.
Well, and the other side of that is, God forbid it goes to litigation.
Yeah.
As I say all the time in my training, litigation negates profit exponentially. And all of a sudden the job that you were making money on, you've lost money on. And you talk about a return of investment. Well, that's a negative return of investment. I mean, it's you have to, limiting that liability. And it's just simple training. And with us, we get involved, with our contractors. It's not just the training. During a labor and material process, we go out and do inspections. We do pre and progress and final inspections. And the larger the job, the more often we're going to be out there. And our contractors love that, because it's not just them dangling out there, right? It's not just on us. We're going out there and making sure, because a lot of times we can fix simple things and do some remedial training on site. Just say, no, yes, this is how it's done. So we're heavily invested in that. Like I said, we want every project to be successful, right? Because that leads to, for us, you talk about return of investment. I'm here doing the training. My company's invested. And how do we return an investment? Is to have successful jobs out there.
Right. Yeah. That's it. Have happy customers. I love that last bullet point is customer satisfaction. Because really at the end of the day, your customers are satisfied when they have a quality, strong roof with a long warranty, and they know someone's going to be there to take care of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I say that all the time. It's about making sure the roof is watertight primarily, and then pretty secondarily, right? we don't do this for aesthetics. Yeah. We do this for durability, longevity, prolong the life of the roof, and keep the roof watertight.
Right. But a pretty roof is nice as a byproduct. Yeah. So as we're kind of talking about this and talking about the training and going, really using this, not only obviously risk mitigation overall for your company, but also using it in your sales and marketing programs, whether that is recruiting employees, getting new customers, helping to grow your business. There are certain things that are very tangible that can help, and that's the certification. So can you talk about that, Johnny?
Yeah. So, in the past, we used to just have approved companies, like this company is an approved applicator, and we would provide some general training. But we found that what we're doing now, and it's really working, is we're certifying the actual applicator, right? I absolutely want to train the building owner or the contractor, the company owner. I absolutely want to train his sales force and his specifiers. But when it comes down to the nuts and bolts of the business of how is this product going on, how is it properly prepped and primed and patched, we've started to certify the individual applicator, right? And with our labor and material warranties, they have to have a certified applicator there, right? Somebody who's been through the program and understands how everything's supposed to do. We train these certified applicators to be that's almost like a train the trainer type thing, right? That's the guy I want on the roof. So he's your superintendent, your foreman. He can go back and self-inspect and self-train on the job for everybody, right? Obviously, we're happy to certify all of them if they want to come. But we definitely got to get at least a couple of guys on that roof that they're going to self-inspect and watch that system. But also with that, having the certified employees, it leads you into, loyalty programs and all of that types of things. But being able to tell your prospective customer that, our guys are certified, they've been through it, they're trained, and be able to prove that certification and have the copy of that certificate. So no, listen, our guys are good. Chuck in the truck isn't certified, but we are.
Yeah.
That's going to lead to more business, right? And it's marketable, it's promotable, and it's something that we're happy to help our certified contractors promote. is that type of certified program. And anytime you can prove that you've invested in training and that you've gotten your guys, without hands down, it's going to help you grow your business, right? It just proves that you're legit,
It does.
right? Adds
And
legitimacy to your business.
I also think, right now you and I were talking about earlier, or at the beginning, about the labor shortage. And we know there's a lot that the industry it's really understanding the importance of training that individual installer. But there is a sense of pride within that, to have that certification. And that's something that HR departments and owners of roofing companies really should be talking about when they're recruiting, as they're interviewing, that this is what we do. Have you seen that, and kind of how? I've seen a little bit, but I'm
Yeah,
curious at what you're seeing.
absolutely. So, having those guys trained, I laugh about roofing in general, that I say that once you get into roofing, you're pretty much stuck, right?
Yeah.
We see it all
Oh,
the
yeah.
time. Guys bounce around from contractor to contractor, from distributor to distributor, and from manufacturer to manufacturer, and sometimes all of them in between.
Yeah.
But when you're actually talking about your installers, your certified installers, we've seen that already, where they're very valuable to these companies out there. Being able to go into a company and say, hey, no, I've been certified with APOC for 5 years, or certified with whoever for however long. I mean, that gives them legitimacy and makes them more valuable. Understand, hey, we've got proved experience, years of experience. It's been through training. That's valuable to all the HR departments out there. Anybody that's looking to hire anybody, but also retain people. If you invest in your employees and give them get them trained and get them certified and give them the time to go to the class, right? And that's what we're really talking about with investments. Like, hey, they have to come out of the field and go somewhere to be trained, and it may be a day or two, or however many. That's an investment. And some manufacturers charge for their training, some don't. We don't on our side. You register and show up, and I'm going to train you, because again, I want it to be certified.
You want everybody.
Right.
You want
Right.
everybody trained.
Get them trained, man. But
Yeah.
putting that investment into your employees, it helps you retain them. It shows a loyalty to them. It shows a dedication to them. And it will definitely, from what I've seen, help slow that migration, bouncing around so much. Not that it's not going to happen, but it's definitely going to help you retain those employees.
I think that's so true. And we have a really good question from our friend Mitch Rabin. Hello, Mitch. He said, you're certifying the installers, or you said roofer, Mitch, but I'm assuming you mean installers. You are certifying the installers. Do you still have a company certification? So can you explain that, how the company is certified and the
Sure.
installers?
Yeah. So, obviously when you get into a business agreement with a company, and that's what a warranty is, right? You're in a contractual agreement between the installing company and the manufacturer. There's always going to be some documentation there that, yes, the company will be listed as a certified or an approved company, an approved applicator, approved contractor. And there is some documentation there that, basically that to simplify it, it says, hey, you're going to do things according to our specifications, right? That's the oversimplification of it, right? So we do have that. And every company that becomes a certified contractor with us, they send their guys in, we certify their employees. Their employees get a certificate individually, but then we also give the company a certificate, and then they fill out their approved applicator agreement with us, and then they're listed as an approved contractor. I hope that helps.
Yeah.
And like I said, and again, we're happy to train. We have different levels of training. Like our 2-day training, for example, we do both, like a full day of classroom and a full day of hands-on. And we have a lot of sales guys and owners that will come for day one, because we go over a lot of the documentation and the paperwork that's all involved, inspection forms and all of that may be in specifications, so that they fully understand. But we also teach them how to sell, right? Which is a whole nother side of the training, right?
Yeah.
How do I go sell this? How do I sell the building owner on this idea?
Right.
So we do that as well. And a lot of times they'll leave after day one, and then the other guys continue on for all the hands-on, right? Because the owner that's wearing a suit and tie every day is not going up there and spreading roof cement. He needs to understand the concept of it, and he's probably done it in his life. That's how he got where he was at. But he is not the guy doing it anymore. So we want to make sure that there's 2 levels of training.
I love it. Okay, we have some great questions coming in. So I want to
Awesome.
finish up with Mitch. It says, if those applicators leave the company, then does the company remain an approved applicator?
Yes.
They tend to move. So yes, but
Yes,
you
they
would
would
want to
stay,
get
but we would just need to make sure that somebody else gets trained.
gets
Yeah,
trained.
we're not,
And
we're
you
not
also
going to remove them from any list. It would just be a matter of, if whoever they sense no longer there, then we want them to send somebody else. Again, we want it to be done right. That's all.
yeah. Well, and you also said for your your top warranties that that also will require that you have certified installers on the job.
Correct. Yeah. So that's why, now that doesn't mean that, for example, ABC Roofing, had 3 guys certified and they went over to XYZ Roofing. ABC is still a certified applicator and they can still bid jobs, but in that interim, we need to get their new guys trained, right?
Right.
And that's why we certified individuals, because that's what was happening. We found that they would shift and they would move, and they had, and with that, that 2 or 3 item punch list would go to 20 items, and we realized, okay, there's nobody trained on the roof anymore.
Yeah.
So that's why it's like, okay, all right, who's your certified installer, right? So we can verify that, and we work with them. If it's a pending contract or something like that, we'll come. We've got teams all throughout the country. We'll come to them.
Yeah, and train on the roof.
Do trainings there if we need to.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That's excellent. And then Renee, hello, Renee, twice in one day. This is awesome. That is what she was about to ask, was this training that you're talking about on helping with estimating, selling, how to sell. Talk to us a little bit further about that. And how does that work with the certifications?
Yeah, so that's separate. That's not required for a certification. It's more the hands-on and specifications, safety, handling. That's all of the stuff that my certified installers get. The other part of it is this more of a sales class. It's it's diversifying your business with fluid applied restorations. But in that we talk about the sales side of it. Why would anybody want to do this? What are the benefits of fluid applied restoration versus a tear off? Being green and all these types of things, and not filling dumpsters. And we talk about those sales points. We talk about the Energy Star or the energy reflectance of a system. How long it can prolong the life of the roof, and truly understanding how you go to market and how you sell these, and what roofs should and should not be restored. Which is huge for them to know. I mean, there's so many out there that I see all the time that roofs were coated or quote unquote restored that should have never been touched. They were saturated. They were in absolute disrepair, and somebody sold them on a restoration, and of course it immediately failed. It's not a fault of the product. It's a fault of the roof wasn't good. It wasn't a good candidate. So understanding all of the liabilities and things that they need to look into to help prevent their liability, but then all the attributes of it. There's some roofs that need to be torn off. Some roofs are great candidates for restoration, and how they understand that, and how they learn that, and how they go to market. So that's actually we do a little bit of that in our single day, but we also do those in a lot of times we travel to the contractor, and we'll have that with the owner and his sales team.
Yeah, excellent. We have another question here, and it's going to kind of go with what our next topic, where we're talking about saving time and raising profitability with liquid applied. But Nick asked a really good question. He says, you talked about lack of contractor diligence leading to subpar coating product or installation. Outside of that, what disadvantages / problems do you see with fluid applied application?
Not that there can't be product failure issues, but they're very rare. We usually see that fluid applied restorations fail in one of a few ways. The most common failure, unfortunately, is a result of improper installation by a contractor. That could mean that it was improperly cleaned, improperly prepped, improperly primed, or not primed at all, didn't do a moisture survey, put acrylic in ponding water, tried to put silicone or try to put acrylic over silicone, and this all starts with education, so we see a lot of that. And it's just simple, basic education will eliminate the biggest reason or the biggest thing that we see for fluid applied restoration failures. The other issue that we see, and this is where we see, as I say, under-specifying and over-promising. And this is a salesperson issue, right? You get an overzealous independent rep or a salesperson in distribution, or even a manufacturer rep that just wants to sell buckets. And he's pitching the idea that, hey, I have a miracle in the roof. This is all you have to do. It'll solve all your world's problems. And that doesn't exist, so we see that as the number 2 reason. It's just it was underspecified and overpromised. Hey, all you have to do is put down a gallon of this and it'll stop all your leaks for 20 years. That's not going to work. And then the last problem is true product failure, but it's rare. And I think 99.9% of the companies out there, when it happens, step up immediately. Because the last thing you want is to have that out there, that you're having failures that are product failures, true product failures, and you're not taking care of it. So good companies, good manufacturers are going to step up and immediately squash that, replace the product, do what's necessary to make it right. And that's the least reason. But, I hope that answered the question.
I think one thing on that question that I would like to kind of pursue a little bit too isn't there are roofs that are meant for liquid applied systems, and there are roofs that are not meant for, they're just not a good candidate for liquid applied applications. And I think that's part of this question too, is like, if it's installed in the wrong place, that's bad for everybody.
Inspection. When we look at whether the roof is a candidate, we're looking for lots of things. What's the age of the roof? What's the makeup of the system all the way from the deck up? How many layers of roof are there? How old is the roof? Do they currently have leaks? Do they have ponding water? Do they have ponding water? Do they have ponding water? All these things. Have we done a moisture survey? Are there any trees growing through the roof? All of that leads to, has the roof been properly maintained? I look at it almost like a traffic light, a green, yellow, and red. Green is it's been properly maintained. The roof looks great. They have no active leaks. The roof is dry. And that's a beautiful candidate for a restoration, right? We can do a system on there and prolong that life, almost indefinitely, right? The roof is in good shape. You can do that. And we've got several of those out there that are working beautifully, right? Hundreds of them. The other thing though is that you see a lot of them that this shouldn't be restored, that they're saturated. And having that yellow is, okay, this roof's got some question. They do have a couple active leaks. Taking that next step, using technology to determine how much of that roof is wet. Where's the water flow? How does the water flow in this system? That's a yellow, right? So it's like, well, it looks really good, but we need a little more data. And then you get into the red, which is, they've got leaks everywhere. There's water squishing up on it when you step on the roof. You have plants growing through the roof system, and I'm sure that everybody on this call has probably been on that roof. I've been on many of them. For whatever reason, shopping malls are the worst, strip malls. I don't know why, but, I see that type of a roof situation. Well, that's a red. Now, that doesn't mean that something can't be done. That just means it's not a candidate for a restoration. As I tell my contractors all the time, you can always try to band-aid the roof, right? You can, but you don't offer any type of warranty with that. It's like, listen, you need to tear off. We can't restore it. You need to tear off, but we can go up and try to mitigate some of your leaks, right? But for all these things. And then, of course, one of the most important things we look at is safety of the roof. Is there deck deflection? If you've got deck deflection all over the place, well, that may not be structurally sound. I had a project. I think everybody remembers the condo that collapsed in Miami area. Shortly thereafter, a lot of those condos had structural engineers come in. And I had a contractor came to me and says, hey, I want to want to put a restoration on this roof system. And I asked him about all of the documentation we just talked about, and he sent me everything, but he also sent me the inspection report from the structural engineer, who said the roof system has a history of moisture intrusion, and therefore the roof must be torn off and the structural components properly inspected. There's no way we could accept that liability and say, yeah, go ahead. Could you imagine if that roof collapsed, that building collapsed, so looking at all of the systems will help you determine whether that's a viable candidate or not. You have to, there's so much more to look at than just say, oh yeah, I could paint that.
Yeah. No, so, and that's really what comes down, the training is what allows you to have this knowledge to know when it's the right candidate or not. But also, as we look here too, saving time and raising profitability. I mean, that's really, and I do want to, Lorna sent us a great note in here. It says, showing your employees that you invest in their professional development improves retention. So that really kind of goes to everything we're talking about right here. Yeah. So just maybe quickly go through some of these bullet points on what and how the training helps all of this.
Yeah. So, I mean, for example, looking at productivity, understanding how are we going to get the system down? What's the best way? Are we going to spray apply? Are we going to roller apply? For example, on a flat roof system, one of the things that I found is extremely productive is to basically grid your roof system off and say, hey, this bucket in this space. Then your employees don't have to worry about wet mill gauges and all these things. They take that bucket in that pre-grid space, no more, no less, spread it out. And a lot of times they'll mix the bucket, pour it out, draw it back with a squeegee and back roller. Doing that system, I can do 200 square feet in about 5 minutes by myself. It's extremely productive. And having that training on that and understanding that, hey, this is how it's done. Or if they're spraying silicone, okay, what's importance about cleaning the machine? Understanding that if you don't clean the machine, you could lose thousands of dollars in hoses. Mitigating that risk there. But understanding how to properly apply it is going to massively increase your productivity. There's lots of different tricks of the trade, as they say, that if you go to the training, you're going to learn. You're going to learn that, hey, there's this really cool roller tool I can use to put fleece on seams. This is how I install full polyesters. Not every roof needs that, but if that's what it is, go into that and understanding, not having them to guess on the roof and make all those trial and error issues before they finally figure it out.
Yeah.
Right. They can come to a good training and learn it and know it. Absolutely going to increase productivity. And as far as the processes and quality assurance, it all ties in, right? Just understanding the process, the order of assembly. Yeah. This goes before this, then this, then this. Doing it wrong can cause a failure. I've got one right now that a gentleman, and again, did it on his own. God bless him for trying it. But he said, hey, I can't get the polyester to stick down. We'll come to find out, he didn't put down a base layer. He was trying to put everything on top of the polyester, and we use a very heavy polyester. It's not going to saturate through. So the entire system was loose.
Oh no.
And just, you talk about risk management.
Yeah.
He literally has to tear this entire thing off.
Oh, I shouldn't laugh.
And start from scratch. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Fortunately for him, it was a small roof. It was 1,000 squares or something. But that just simple understanding and investing in that training will limit all of that. And that was a gentleman that, again, he was trying to diversify his business, had never done, this was his first coating job ever.
Oh, wow.
But did not invest in training. Went and bought the product, went out on the roof, started having failures, and called manufacturing. Mm-hmm. Right? That's their first stop. Well, it couldn't have been me. We go out and investigate. Of course, we use all of our tools to investigate, and we determine what's going on. And and he's like, oh, but taking 2 days out of time, sending some guys to that would have solved all that problem. He would have had a completely successful restoration on the first time.
The first time. That makes sense. So let's let's I want to talk a little bit about technology because we mentioned this at the beginning, and just what you're seeing with the technologies out there that are starting to kind of change the landscape.
Yeah. So, you know, one of the things that we're seeing is when I first got into, well, I shouldn't say when I first got into roofing, when I first came to APOC, you know, a infrared scanner was, you know, like $14,000,
Yeah.
you know, and it sat on your shoulder like a video camera.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're handheld and they're $400 or $500. And if you really want an extremely good one, you spend a couple $1,000, you know,
Yeah.
and it's still just a handheld thing. But they take video, they take photo and infrared at the same time. You know, they're just incredible tools, that just something like that. And we see a lot of contractors out there starting to utilize that. Now, I will tell you though, it in itself has its own training, right? If you're a company out there that wants to get into that, I absolutely encourage it, but invest in that person that's going to do it. You need to go get your level 1 or 2 thermography, go get the certification, take the addendum for roofing inspection, right? Roofing
Mm-hmm.
infrared or roofing thermography, because there's times of the day that you're supposed to do it. Um, Different times of the year will affect that. Some roofs can be infrared, some cannot. And again, it's basic knowledge, but using tools like that, we're also seeing drone technology
Yeah.
becoming very, very prevalent. And again, now that has its own training. You know, a lot of people don't realize that there's actually a FAA Part 107 test that you have to take to be a licensed drone operator, right? So it's not just training about the coding; it's all these different things. And you know, so we have some contractors out there that do both.
Mm-hmm.
They have the infrared certifications and they have the drone license. And they actually have spent the money and invested and gotten the drone with the infrared on it. And they don't even have to go on the roof to do the infrared survey. They go up just after the sun goes down, they do their infrared and they create a report, you know, but they've got all the certifications. That's something we would accept.
Mm-hmm.
When a company doesn't have that, then, and if it's needed, if it's required for that particular roof, then that's just another expense that you have to hire somebody to come in and they have to do it. You know, there's advantages and disadvantages to that, but you know, understanding what those technologies are. We are seeing a lot of um, uh, what is it? Company can being used a lot.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah,
You know,
yeah. Great
I've got a
product.
lot of the contractors using company can, and it is so nice for me.
Yeah.
You know, they will go up and they'll take 800 photos, you know, and send me a link for company cam. I don't have to download anything if I don't want to, and I can look at every photo they took. We've got a lot of companies now using tablets, you know, doing reports on tablets. You know,
Yep.
we have inspection forms and punch lists and all those types of things, and they're all in PDF format. And with the right tablet, you can absolutely use those and fill those out and literally just hit the send button and send it out, you know, instead of, okay, you got to handwrite it, bring it in, scan it, email it, you know. So, and all of that technology, you know, is great. And we do train a little bit on that in our training center. We've got infrared cameras that we show. We have moisture probes that we show and how to use those, how to determine if a core is dry or not. And that's all technology, and it all takes extra training to learn it, you know. But then, you know, and then also, you know, just different visual comparators and all those types of things when you're trying to figure out mill gauge, you know, millage of a system, and I think that pretty much covers it there.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's great. And I'm thinking about the softwares, the inspection softwares. There's just so much out there. So knowing that you can get this at training, but also I'm just going to encourage everybody, talk to your software companies, ask them for training, talk to your equipment companies, to your infrared and the drones. There's great drone training that we're seeing coming across
Mhm.
the board. So yeah, this is really important. And when we look at training practices specific to coatings, we did have one question here.
Sure.
When challenges you experience when doing, okay, what challenges do you experience when doing virtual trainings for coatings versus in person? That kind of goes with this slide.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, with a virtual, there's no hands-on. You know, we have heavily invested in video. We've got on our website, apoc.com, we've got, I think, 80 videos, 80 detailed videos, and they're very specific, step by step by step by step. So they generally follow the prep, prime, patch, and protect process. And we did that on all our details. So you can go and search by each type of system, whether it be a metal roof, a single ply roof, or an asphalt roof. So we're heavily invested in that. So it's the hands-on portion that is hard, when you're doing it online. We do have a lot of contractors will come to us with years of experience with other manufacturers. And, they really understand the process. So we'll kind of talk through it. And we can do that virtually. We do a lot of virtual inspections as well, talking about the technology.
Yeah.
Their contractors are many, field technical guys are few.
Yeah.
Right. So we do a lot of that. And, we understand that we don't want contractors to have to wait. Right. So we can get on our iPhones and FaceTime, or we can get on Zoom or Teams or any of the apps that they have that they want to use. And I can do a virtual inspection there. But even if we're doing a virtual training, to answer the question, that's the biggest thing. It's getting the hands on, the touch, the feel, the smell. It's one thing for me to say, hey, it takes 64 wet mills to saturate polyester. It's another thing to see what that actually looks like. Right, because the guys in the field aren't out there measuring that and going, okay, that's 64 wet mills, now embed the polyester. But if they visually see it and they can feel it, okay, that's how wet it looks when it's at that rate. That's the type of thing that you lose out with when you're doing the virtual.
Yeah.
But a lot of times we'll break it up. If we'll do the virtual, and then we'll do in the field or at their shop, hands-on, because we still want to get those guys trained.
So hybrid.
Get those applicators trained.
Yeah. That hybrid approach is, and then that way, that's when you can do all the mixing, product, temperature, moisture, all that kind of stuff. And I am actually going to flip to the next slide, Johnny, because this has been so great with all the questions, but I don't want to, with our few minutes we have left, I don't want to miss this. So finding coatings training. This is right now, people are asking, how do you do it? Where do you go? Let's talk about how people can find training from APOC.
Yeah, so for us, you can go to apoc.com, and there at the top of the page, there's a link that says training, or education rather. Click on the education link and you'll find the latest classes that are available. We're just wrapping up the end of the year. We have some classes that are going to be scheduled coming in January, February, March. We generally will list 3 months in advance so that you can look at it. I don't know that that's been updated just yet, but they are coming. And it always is a continual update. So every time you go there, you're going to see the next new month come up, right? So once we get through January, we'll have February, March, and April, and so on and so on and so on. So we're always going to have at least 3 months of trainings there for you. We have 3 training centers in the country right now. We have our largest training center in Tampa, Florida. We actually have a lot of contractors come here from up north in the wintertime. They'll come down and with their key guy, usually the owner and a key applicator, their superintendent, their foreman. They'll come down and spend a couple of days here in sunny Florida and get a little bit of vacation and a really, really great education. So we're there. I've had people come in from Belize. I've had Central America. I think the furthest one was Argentina.
Wow.
To Tampa, right? So, so we have another training center in Phoenix, Arizona, which is just a little bit smaller, but set up very much like the Tampa Training Center. And then we have another one in Andover, Massachusetts, at one of our plants. That one isn't really set up for indoor hands-on, but we have an outdoor area, so we're not utilizing that during the winter, obviously. Right now, we're looking for another facility up there. But then we also work with some of our distributor partners. Sometimes they have a really beautiful location and they'll host a training where we come in and we'll do the training there and certify those types of people or their customers that they bring in.
Yeah.
We've got one of them coming up in January 9th in Rutherford, New Jersey, I think it's Rutherford. So
and you can also, I know, because we spend time together at the trade shows, you're doing demos. And I mean, that's not a full training, but you can start getting the feel for it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like I said, we do the live field trainings as well, where we'll go out to the individual contractor if that's the only way we can get it done. We do trade show trainings. We're going to be at IRE.
Mm-hmm.
We'll be at IRE coming up here, and we'll be doing some live demos there as well, with lots of different products that we have. We offer much more than just the fluid applied restoration products, but a wide range of repair products and foam adhesives and all those types of things. So we'll be demoing quite a bit there. And of course we do a lot of webinars, and really if you just reach out to me or go to our website at our training registration, there is a contact us link there as well. And if you can't make one of the trainings, just reach out. We will find a way to make it happen.
That's perfect. And all of this is on Coatings Coffee Shop. On your directory,
Yes.
we have trainings. We actually have a video tour of your training center in Tampa that we did. So a lot of great information that is out there. Johnny, thank you. This has been tremendous. And great questions, everyone. Thank you so much. And thank you to APOC for sponsoring this. Johnny, it's just been great.
Thank you. As always, Heidi, it's always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure. The hour goes by so fast. Thank you all for watching. Please stay tuned. We're going to be having our next coatings talk in January. We're going to be doing those the second week of every month on Wednesdays at 11 o'clock. So they're easy for you to find. We will be doing this every month. Please join us, and please check out Coatings Coffee Shop and all of the podcasts, trainings, videos we have. We'll be seeing you next month again on Coatings Coffee Shop. Coatings Talk. Thanks a lot and have a great day.